Awesome. Hello, aloha, friends, and welcome to episode 5 of Game Time with the Goss, brought to you by GM Sports and Media and Get Recruited website. I'm joined today with my great buddy, the Chocolate Bear, Kenny Matthews from Friday Night Glory. How you doing, Kenny?
Doing well, Goss. How the heck are you doing, man? It's softball
Awesome.
season.
Yeah, second week of the playoffs for the UIL softball season. TAPS is also starting or have started. More games to come this week. But for the area around in the UIL, we got some pretty good matchups, and we actually had some pretty good games in the by-district round. Kenny, I know you went to. I think the first game you went to was Allen and Louisville, and that went kind of down to the wire, didn't it?
Yes, it did. That was a good game on Thursday night there. A little cool that night, but yes, a feisty Louisville team. Man, they gave Allen everything they could muster on Thursday night. Morgan Wright had a great game. She had both RBIs in that game. Pitched, I believe she had 6 or 7 strikeouts in that game. A shutout ball against a really good Louisville team. I believe Louisville was the third. They were third in their district with
Yeah,
yep.
there's some tough hitters with leadoff from going to Georgia, Paisley Allen. So
Yeah.
to only allow one run is pretty impressive.
Not bad. And the thing about this, I do want to give props before I forget on that, is Coach Shuttle and Coach Portia making this happen. They played early enough so that Paisley Allen, she's also a track star too. So she was actually able to get to regionals on Saturday. I mean, as I told Coach Shuttle, she didn't need to do that. I said it's the right thing to do, but that doesn't mean that that's what people do. And it was really nice that they were able to get that in because they were going to do a double header on Friday so she can get to it. But inevitably, Louisville ended up losing that first game on Friday morning anyway.
Yeah,
You have to be impressed. You have to be impressed with Allen. I mean, with having heavy graduations last year, losing probably the player of the year last year, and Sammy Hood. They won 10 district games here. They only lost to Geyer both times in that district, and they're pretty good. Hopper
at the
Garrett
home
had a
run.
big home run in that
Yeah,
game on Thursday. Then they came back and won. I believe it was an
7-2 or
8-3,
7-3.
7-3, yeah, 7-3 on Friday morning. And I mean, it's a really good feisty team. I mean, it's going to be a very tough out for them. And Coach Shuttle, I think, and her and her staff have done an extremely good job. And they're one of the best defensive teams that I've seen this year so far. I mean, in the 3 games that I've done, I don't think I've seen an error out of them. So, feisty bunch, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they get a pretty good matchup here in the second round with South Grand Prairie.
Yes, yes.
25 and 6. First game is Thursday at 6 p.m. at South Grand Prairie, and I know South Grand Prairie kind of they beat Lake Highlands, put up 19 runs. Yeah, team trying to go back to the at least the fourth round here. Uh, one of their pitchers, Journey. She's been
Mhm.
pitching really well. She had a no hitter against Lake Highlands, so that should be an impressive matchup if you can go out SGP and Allen.
Do you feel the South Grand Prairie's kind of been overlooked a little this year? I mean, they got an impressive record. Maybe some people think
I
that
think
their
they
district's
were.
not.
I honestly thought they were kind of overlooked last year too. It's
Mhm.
kind of I don't they're in 8-6A. Yeah, they're in 8-6A, which got some good softball teams, but it's not the toughest competition like the Geyer district or Flower Mound or even Keller.
Sure,
So
sure.
I think they get overlooked, but that's if they can make another deep playoff run and to do it back to back years, that's kudos to that staff and those players. But I got to figure SGP and Allen's going to be one of the toughest, one of the tougher matchups here in the second round. So looking
Yeah,
forward to that one.
I think that them and Waxahachie and Rockwall, I think, is the other one that I think is very underrated second round matchup that's coming up. I mean, we
Yeah,
haven't really talked much about Waxahachie, but they've had an extremely good season, and Rockwall is Rockwall.
yeah. Rockwall and Waxahachie, they start Friday night in Rockwall. Waxahachie beating Copper's Cove 7-1. I think they're 27-7. They're only only losses in district came to 34-0 Lake Ridge. So that's pretty impressive on their part. Um, then you actually had another maybe even better game the following day, right?
Yeah.
Friday with undefeated Geyer and Flower Marcus. Not your typical 4-1 matchup, but
No.
went to 10 innings. Went to 10 innings. There's some big numbers here. 10 innings. It was only 2-1 walk off from Geyer. I think there was, I don't know, what, 30 strikeouts and 19 walks, something crazy like
I think it was a 3 hour and 10 minute game, I believe is what it turned out to
and
be.
they
And
started they started early, right? Like at
2
2.
o'clock. Two
And
o'clock.
I think you were trying to go to Hebron baseball or something, right? And
Yes.
softball
My
game went
nephew,
pretty long.
yeah, my nephew plays for Hebron, so I got to Hebron a little late. But the thing about that game was that I thought was very interesting is the crowd was extremely well. Denton Geyer let some of their since it was late in the day, it was an off period, so a lot of the students were there. So when I got there, I mean that stands were packed. Coach Medford for Geyer, he thought there was at least 800 plus people there on Friday afternoon, which turned out to be decent day. We thought the rain was coming. We were, doomed. We thought storms were coming, so that was the reason why they moved the game up earlier than it anticipated. We were able to get it in, obviously, but what a great game. I mean, you got to think about Aaron Peterson hits a ball up the middle, scores the first run in the game in the first inning, and we go 5 innings without another run. And then it was Faith helped herself out, Drill, so she gets a sac fly.
Yeah.
And then we go 5 innings without any scores and a whole bunch of strikeouts and a whole bunch of Geyer Wildcat people left on base. She pitched out of 5. Yes, 5
Uh,
bases loaded jams to get up to 203 pitches. God bless her soul. The other thing was Tori Edwards, I believe, was intentionally walked 6 times in this game.
yeah.
By Denton Geyer. I mean, that's got to be close to a record if it's not.
Yeah, the
To have that many
big
intentional walks.
LSU bound. She
Yes.
leads off for Marcus. So yeah,
And think about this. Finley Montgomery, she only gives up 1 hit. That's to Tori Edwards, who then was walked 6 times after that. Intentionally walked. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's a crazy game, and like you said, the walks, the strikeouts, and I have to give a lot of props to Faith. She really, really battled. I mean, of the 203 pitches she threw, 203 pitches were pressure pitches, and I mean, you have to give somebody really a lot of credit for keeping them on the road against an undefeated team. She did everything possible for the Marauders. I mean, for Marcus to win, and it just didn't work out. I mean, it was just sooner or later you can't leave the bases. You can't keep putting people on base and not expect an undefeated Geyer team to beat you. But man, it was a heck of a game. It was a great atmosphere, and it was one of those that I will remember for a long time. That's for sure.
yeah. Faith going to Tarleton State for Marcus. You know, uh, 16 strikeouts for her, and then Finley Montgomery from Geyer. Just impressive numbers. I mean,
Freshman.
you take out Edwards' walks. She really just had 2 walks and 16 Ks at 1 hit in 10 innings. So for
Bad.
your first playoff game to do that, that's wild.
And she's not even old enough to drive her car to school yet.
Yeah, I got to see Coach Medford on
Yeah.
Sunday at the Tarleton UTA, and shout out to him celebrating his birthday weekend. But I think he got a little more gray hairs there during game 1. Um,
Yeah, there was a whole lot. There was a collective sigh after that game. Let's just say that for Denton Geyer. I mean, I think that Denton Geyer still would have won the series because I don't think Faith had anything left to pitch the very next day, and you would have had to beat them twice. So that would have been kind of interesting to see if it did get pushed to an end game, if she would have tried to pitch or not. But yeah, I was just thinking. I said it was the game that Geyer had to have almost at that point in time. With that many opportunities.
Yeah, so Geyer 31-0. They move on to the second round against Arlington Martin, playing a one gamer 7:30 Thursday at Byron Nelson. Kenny will be there.
Yes.
Looking at staying in Region One, moving to the second round. Keller moves on past Euless Trinity. Keller Central won their first ever playoff series, so they're playing against Friendship now. Again, I think SGP and Allen probably one of the better matchups around. Richardson and Flower Mound will be there Friday. It starts on Thursday at Carlton Turner High School, 7 p.m., but we'll be there Friday at Hebron. We kind of know about Flower Mound. Went to state a couple years ago. They got some really good D1 girls. And then Richardson, coming up, they're 25-10-1. District 7, 6A champs. First district title in program history, when undefeated. We gotta give them a shout out here. We're not gonna hear the end of it from Marley. I mean, what can you? I mean, Richardson again. I think is not quite to that SGP level, but I think they're in the same realm in terms of they just kind of get overlooked.
Yeah.
District 7, District 8, unfortunately, is not the toughest districts around, but they're playing really well. They got a really good pitcher in Lana Donaldson. Emily Carroll is hitting lights out. Um, I mean, what can you kind of gauge from that Flower
And
Mound?
I think you and I talked about it last week. It'll be interesting now because they'll be going up against some formidable pitching now. We'll be able to really see if they were a product of maybe a district not being so tough, to be kind, or if they really are good. I think this is a great test for them on Friday, going up against Landry Harris, obviously. Lando is back at 100% now. I believe she's off the pitch count now. So it'll be really interesting to see how they go up against one of the best pitchers in the area for sure. But they're a scrappy bunch. I mean, I know the district got kind of embarrassed in the first round in the playoffs. The other three teams that made the playoffs, but you have to just play who you play. You can't. I mean, if that's the district UIL stuck you in, that's the district you're going to have to do. And they've done everything that they can up to this point now to say that they deserve to be in the playoffs. So, as you said, Marley's going to be on us. It'll be fun to see her, but it'll be really interesting to see how they go up against the Flower Mound pitching. I think that's going to be that'll be the key in the game coming up on this Friday, well, this Thursday and Friday.
Boswell is playing Odessa Permian. Salt Lake Carroll is playing San Angelo Central. Plano West, which won the 6A district title, they're playing Arlington High to round out 6A Region 1.
Big win over Prosper.
Yeah. Is there another series in 6A or 5A even that kind of jumps out to you?
It was I believe it was, hold on one second, let me look at my notes. I was thinking Richland, when they beat Burleson over the weekend. I mean, Richland may be one of the best third place teams in the state, even if you really think they're coming from a very tough district there.
Yeah.
I mean, it earns a date with Alito, but I mean, if you're Alito, that's a pretty tough matchup in the second round of the playoffs when you're going up against a really good Richland team. I think it's a real good test for Alito. That was one of the ones that I was kind of looking at earlier, and then I was looking at also was
the one I like is Burleson Centennial and Justin Northwest.
Yes.
Try to go to that game. That one starts Wednesday at 7 at LV Bell. I mean, that's I know they faced off, I believe, in the third round last season. Now in the second round this year, that's going to be a good matchup. You got Bailey Lindemuth from Centennial, Texas Tech commit, and then Abby Young for Northwest going to Sam Houston. She's been doing it for all 4 years, and they got some really good hitters on both sides. I think Northwest is a little more on the speed side, and then Centennial has the power.
Right.
Centennial had that test though in the first round. I mean, they lose, they couldn't even score a run in game one against Grapevine. They lose 1-0. Allie for Grapevine just was amazing. And then, Centennial was able to win a doubleheader on Saturday. Northwest, not really a test against South Hills. They put up 38 runs in 2 games, but again, you just got to deal with who you play. But I'm excited for that matchup.
Well, and I was also thinking about another storyline is, having all of these teams go out west. You got what, 3 of our teams that are going out west this week. It's always dicey to get on a road trip, get on the bus and go that way and play out that way. It's, you think that the competition's a little less or a little inferior to what you've been playing at in the Metroplex, but you don't go out there and have your head right with ball. You're going to come back with a long ride back home, eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, moving down, Argyle plays Azo, Brewer plays Colleyville Heritage. In 5A Region 2, the one that kind of pops out is North Mesquite and Lone Star. Again, Lone Star, I think, plays in a tougher district than North Mesquite. North Mesquite is putting up some big time numbers. I mean, I don't know if you saw that score again in round 1. They put up 4 touchdowns and a field goal.
As
And they,
Kevin Shelton says, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do to bad pitching. They're beating
yeah,
it up.
but I mean, I know you've seen Lone Star at least once, and we don't really know much about North Mesquite other than the stats. I mean, can North Mesquite hang with the Rangers?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say if they really can or cannot because of the competition level that North Mesquite's played this year. They haven't stepped up to the big. I call it the big boy softball approach. It's almost kind of like the same situation with Richardson. You're gonna go up against some stellar pitching. So the old adage is that good pitching always takes care of good hitting. It'll be really interesting to see if those North Mesquite people can get on base. I think if they get them on base, especially the top of the order, they got some speed at the top of the order. That changes the pitching because it's pressure pitches, as Coach Medford always kind of says. It's one thing to be pitching with nobody on base, but it's another thing when people are on first and second and pitching with nobody out. I do feel that Lone Star will win this game. I think Lone Star has really had a special year so far this year. I think the middle of their order is extremely tough to get out. They got some pop and they got some there. And on the mound, they pitched really, really well here. So I would take Lone Star in this game, but it'd be really interesting to see if North Mesquite can bring those bats to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, before I kind of skipped 6A Region 2, but another one that stands out, and hopefully I'll go to that game on Thursday. It's a one-gamer at Forney High School. Is Lake Ridge and Royce City. Lake Ridge 34-0, Royce City 26-4-1. Lake Ridge. I don't know, probably not really a scare, but only beating Byron 2-0 game 1 before exploding for 13-2 in game 2. Royce City 18-8 against Saxe in a one-gamer. So, you never know in a one.
They had a 12-run. I believe they had a 12-run fourth.
Yeah, I mean, you never know in a one gamer, but yeah, that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a great game.
And I'm guilty of this myself. I've kind of underrated Royce City all year. I probably should have mentioned them a little bit more, maybe on the DFW, fast pitch polls, a little bit. Royce City had an outstanding year last year. I believe they got to the regional finals. I believe it was last year. They ended up losing. I can't remember. I know they beat the Colony Lake, but anyhow, I mean, they've got some great offense. They've got some nice pop. The freshman, is it Sweeney? I believe it was. She hit a grand slam, I believe, the other day for Royce City. I think it's a good matchup for Lake Ridge going up against them because they know they can't overlook them. If you think you overlooked last week, I think Royce City's probably catching Lake Ridge at the wrong time, because they probably had their wake up call last week and now they're playing, hey, everybody's gunning for me, but they got the bullseye on their chest, rightfully so. I saw where Warsaw had a big hit the other day. And we talked a lot last night. I mean, she's pitched her butt off this year. I mean, for her to bounce back after what happened in the championship game last year, man, she's just mowing them down. So I mean, I still think the Lakers will win this. I think they will win this game, but I think it's a test for sure.
Yeah, Avery Hong pitching well. Scarlett Poor is kind of their number 2 pitcher, and she's really seeing the ball well at the plate. Again, the speed with Paris Johnson, Tia Warsap, Cassie Chance, and then Roy City. They know how to pop it, with Bree Duffy, Jenna Joyce, who was
Jenna
an
Joyce, yeah.
all-star last season, and then I think her name is Abby Mangrum, maybe the pitcher. She's got over 20 wins on the season, so maybe that's why they maybe wanted a one gamer, was they could see her going out and trying to beat this team. But yeah, I'm excited for that matchup as well. We mentioned
You also got Forney. I know we didn't maybe mention Forney also. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Abby Long has had a great year. She had a bomb. She had a bomb this weekend. Forney's we talked a little bit about the first podcast about how they had that great game with Alito earlier this year. I think they're a dark horse here. I think that's one of the teams you probably do not want to face right now. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Forney can do the rest of the way.
Yeah, Forney gets Kingwood Park. They actually start Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Madisonville. It's a 3-game series. Some other ones, again, to round out Region 2 and 6A, Wiley and Legacy. That's a very interesting matchup. We mentioned Rockwall and Waxahachie, and then Wiley East is playing Waco Midway. So others that pop out, Frisco Heritage, Mesquite Poteet, Heritage, one of the better records in DFW, got a scare with the Colony.
Big win. They stole the game Saturday.
Jensen Hall, obviously we know what she does in the circle, but she's really good at the plate as well. I think the leading hitter, she had that walk off. So see if they can kind of, get a more dominant game going, so they don't really give their coaches a heart attack here. But
yeah, they play pretty close to the vest a lot, don't they?
Uh,
But hey, anytime you have Hall on the rubber, though, you're in good shape, though.
So all the ones just going down the list, Sulphur Springs, Maybank, and 4A. Godley and Salina in 4A Region 2 might be really good. Godley's 26-6. Salina, 26-2. Ella Gamlin is their pitcher. So that's a 3-game series that starts Thursday. Others, Whitesboro moving on, Grandview. Gotta give a shout out to Grandview for Saturday's sweep. In game 2, Isabella Jeter had 4 home runs and 5 RBIs in one game. So
it's crazy. That's crazy. I think she should have got the Tori Edwards approach.
I even told Coach Ebner, is like, how do you pitch? Even after the second one, how do you keep pitching? And then the third one, I just,
After the third one, no. You just put the 4 fingers up in the air and point to first base.
So yeah, there's some really good matchups. Again, TAPS is underway as well. But go check it out. It's a fun time for sure. Like I mentioned here, we're with the Chocolate Bear, Kenny Matthews, Friday Night Glory. We're going to move on to baseball. It's the first round for UIL. I guess we'll start with a team that you have a lot of ties with, is Hebron. Sweeping Flower Mound last week in the final series. Flower Mound only had to win one game to lock up, number 1 seed, but Hebron was able to sweep them. Marcos Paz, I think, is his name.
Yes.
13 strikeouts in that first game. Impressive.
They
beat Flower Mound to sweep them and steal that number 1 seed.
Well, I mean, it started on Tuesday night with Will Patterson, their ace for Hebron. He pitched a great game. Hebron was able to scratch out 2 runs in the top of the 7th inning to win a 2-1 ball game. And then my nephew, Pierce Matthews, the catcher for Hebron, he hits a ball up the middle on a fielder's choice in the very first inning. That was the only run in that game on Friday night is, man, Marcos Paz came down and he was dealing. He pitched 6 2/3 innings of 13 strikeouts, no runs, obviously. To hold Flower Mound to 1 run in 14 innings tells you all you need to know about Hebron's pitching staff. And some of their best pitchers hadn't even pitched this year for Hebron. You've got a 1-2 punch. It kind of reminds me of South Lake Carroll last year with Heron and Owen Prisk. It reminds me a lot of that. You get 2 or 3 runs and you're going to win a ball game. And like you said, Flower Mound was the #1 ranked team in the area. Hebron was number 4. And as I told Coach Stone, I said, scored 3 runs and 2 wins, just the way you drew it up all week, right?
Yeah, some teams that also like Hebron just kind of, and actually I want to mention Hebron finished on top of my 6A rankings.
Yes.
Actually, the top 3 in that district was 1, 2, and 3 with Flower Mound and Marcus as well.
Impressive district.
Yeah. Hebron starts Thursday, game 3 series against Little Elm. Like I mentioned, Flower Mound, if I can find them. Flower Mound, actually pretty good series with Prosper.
Yes.
That starts Thursday at Flower Mound, and then Marcus gets Allen. That starts Thursday at Marcus.
One of the toughest by districts in the state, I think. You take any of those. Yeah, any of those 8 teams, and you put them in other districts, you're talking about maybe 2, 3 round, 3 playoff runs here, and you're going to have 4 really good teams eliminated in the first round.
Yeah, I gotta just mention Boswell. They were down 2 games in the district standings against Chisholm Trail. Again, Chisholm Trail just had to win 1 game to clinch that 4th spot, and Boswell was able to sweep them. And then, obviously on the tiebreaker, and they get in. They're going to play Keller in the first round. Timber Creek played a play-in game against Hazlitt Eaton and got a walk-off there, 8-7 win. So they get Weatherford. Weatherford was able to win on Saturday against Pasco to win the district title and 1 seed. Another one that kind of jumps out to me, we got some really good matchups. LD Bell and Byron Nelson. That series starts Thursday at Bell. Bell went 11-3 in District 3, 6A, district champs, co-champs. Byron Nelson, these 2 teams have really good pitching. Bell has Matt Wendorf and Cameron Harfaith, if I'm saying those names right. Cameron, actually up for my player of the week, had 17 strikeouts and a 1-hit shutout against Trinity. And then Byron Nelson, they play in that tough district with Carroll and Keller. I've seen Luis Santiago's name quite a bit for Byron Nelson. So that's one of the ones that jumps out here, at least on this side of the Metroplex. Is there one that kind of jumps out to you?
Well, I was also going to give props to Keller Fossil Ridge. Michael McCoy had the big 2-run hit against the defending champs South Lake Carroll.
And that was that not only, upset a state-ranked team, but you deny them any shot at a 1 seed or a district title. So, yeah.
Because they were going to be tied with Keller, going into that. And that's a huge win for that program there. And anytime that South Lake Carroll doesn't win district, that's an eye opener. But, they also have maybe arguably the 2nd best team during this run of South Lake Carroll and Keller in their district. So, but all things going, South Lake Carroll had done the work to tie that district up, and Keller, Michael McCoy says the 2 RBI hit. Says, no, you're the 2nd seed. So it'll be really interesting to see if South Lake, the Dragons get refocused after a game like that. Obviously, South Lake Carroll, has been relying on their hitting a little bit more this year than normal. But, Fossil Ridge, man, they did all right. That's a tough district, as you said.
And South Lake Carroll, they play a 1-gamer against a very good Pasco team. They actually host that game Friday at 7.
And wasn't it last year or the year before they had a really tough game against Pasco in the one, they played on a Friday night when it was a 1-game set. And at one time Pasco was winning in that game. So you're absolutely right. That's a pesky Pasco bunch. They'll be playing South Lake Carroll in the 1-game elimination.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably guess Jared White goes for Carroll. You know, they're led by their twins, Jared and Tyler White. And then
Mhm.
Pascal would probably guess Gabriel Saldivar. I've seen his name a lot on my top performers. So that might be maybe closer game than people might think. But we got a couple minutes here on the call, so just kind of run down a little more. Jesuit against Lamar, Geyer against Coppell.
Coppell. Yeah, I thought that was going to be a really good game. Geyer's a district champ going up against Coppell, finished third. I mean, does that mean it's going to finish fourth?
Yeah,
Um, that's a good game. That's a really good game on the surface, and it's two perennial teams that are really good baseball.
yeah. Keep an eye out on Rockwall. They're another top, in the state rankings in for 6A Region 2. Um, let's see who else. Rockwall Heat playing Wiley.
Yes.
Saxey 22 wins against a North Forney team, a very good North Forney team who had to compete with Rockwall and Rockwall Heat. So that might be a pretty good matchup.
Then
Um,
see.
oh, and just to mention before I forget, just watching Monday night, Midlothian Heritage beat Joshua 6-4 in a playing game for the final spot at 8-5A. Unfortunately, they set up a date with Grapevine, who finished in my top 5A rankings. But great pitching for Heritage, Carter Rudenbar and Ryland Figueroa at the end there in relief. Joshua actually had the game tying runs, both in scoring position in the 6th and the 7th, and Heritage was able to keep them off the board. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, just before we end up here, is there any others in 5A that, or a team that you think could make a deep run?
Well, I hate to say I don't like to piggyback on this, but I really think that Flower Mound. I mean, I think they just ran into where their bats were really cold, but their pitching is outstanding. Their defense is very good. This is a team that I still can they can make a run to state this year. I really love the depth of their pitching staff. It's just sometimes you just run in where the bats were just cold, and I think that they just ran into a buzzsaw last week, but I think that that's kind of one of the things that can really rejuvenate your team. Sometimes you get kind of caught in your own laurels and listen to the press clippings a lot and you don't play as well, but you're going to get a really focused Flower Mountain team. And I feel really sorry for anybody that's in their way the rest of the way.
Yeah, in 5A, I think maybe one of these Frisco schools that we're
Grapevine.
kind of used to.
Well,
Grapevine.
I like your Grapevine pick there. I think they're a really salty bunch, and that's another team I think that's been kind of overlooked a little bit
Grapevine,
media
and
wise.
I think even Argyle too, maybe the same
Mhm.
district.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I keep forgetting that Argyle's in 5A. I still can't get my head wrapped around that. But
yeah,
yes, I
we'll see
mean,
how far Grapevine goes. Yeah, they there's a potential there, third round matchup with Burleson Centennial.
first Centennial.
Yeah, 5A champ. But Grapevine, undefeated in district again. Kind of, you look at their pitching staff with Jason Hill and Wes Cunningham, among others. But sort of gives me the feel of the 2016-2017 run when they went back to back to the state tournament and won the 2016 state title.
I really like you pick the Grapevine. I really do. I think that's a really savvy pick there. I think, like you said, the pitching depth alone is really good, and they get seem to be getting timely hitting most of the year this year. So, I really like that Grapevine pick. I think they could be. They're a dark horse for sure.
Yeah. Just real quick, some other top teams probably to watch out for is Lucas Lovejoy, Frisco Lone Star, Frisco High, uh, uh, Forney and Frisco Wakeland always go pretty far in the playoffs. Even the little schools, Brock and Salina, they finished 1-2 in my lower class ranking. So I had to go get that Grapevine in shout out though too for my Grapevine people, Leanne and Tim and Debbie Drake. So if you're watching,
They earned
um,
it.
but are you planning maybe to watch Hebron here?
Yes, I'm scheduled to do, if there's an if game on Saturday, that's where I'm gonna go. If it's on at 1 o'clock on Saturday, I believe they said it's in Plano or Plano West. I can't remember exactly, but if there's an if game, I will be there on Saturday at 1 o'clock for sure.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you, Kenny. Chocolate Bear Friday Night Glory. This is Game Time with the Goss, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Kenny.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one, man. See you on Friday, buddy.